Chapter 7. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people who were with him, rose up early and encamped beside the spring of Harod, and the camp of Midian was on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh in the valley. The Lord said to Gideon, The people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, My own hand has saved me. Now therefore proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whoever is fearful and trembling, let him return and depart from Mount Gilead. There returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. The Lord said to Gideon, The people are yet too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will try them there for you. And it shall be, that of whom I tell you, this shall go with you, the same shall go with you. And of whoever I tell you, this shall not go with you, the same shall not go. So he brought down the people to the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, Everyone who laps of the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, him shall you set by himself. Likewise everyone who bows down on his knees to drink. The number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men, but all the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink water. The Lord said to Gideon, By the 300 men who lapped I will save you, and deliver the Midianites into your hand, and let all the people go every man to his place. So the people took food in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the men of Israel every man to his tent, but retained the 300 men, and the camp of Midian was beneath him in the valley. It happened the same night that the Lord said to him, Arise, go down into the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you fear to go down, go with Purah your servant down to the camp, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward shall your hands be strengthened to go down into the camp. Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outermost part of armed men who were in the camp. The Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like locusts for multitude, and their camels were without number, as the sand which is on the seashore for multitude. When Gideon had come, behold, there was a man telling a dream to his fellow, and he said, Behold, I dreamed a dream. And behold, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and came to the tent, and struck it so that it fell, and turned it upside down so that the tent lay flat. His fellow answered, This is nothing else save the sword of Gideon the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and all the host. It happened when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation of it, that he worshipped. And he returned into the camp of Israel and said, Arise, for the Lord has delivered into your hand the host of Midian. He divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put into all the hands of all of them trumpets, and empty pitchers, with torches within the pitchers. He said to them, Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outermost part of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, so shall you do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then blow you your trumpet also on every side of the camp, and say, For the Lord and for Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outermost part of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, when they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpets, and broke in pieces the pitchers that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew the trumpets, and broke the pitchers, and held the torches in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands with which to blow, and they cried, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. They stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran, and they shouted, and put them to fight. They blew the 300 trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, and against all the host, and the host fled as far as Beth-shittah towards Zerai, and as far as the border of Abel-Maholah by Tabbath. The men of Israel were gathered together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after Midian. Gideon sent messengers throughout all the hill country of Ephraim, saying, Come down against Midian, and take before them the waters, as far as Beth-barah, even the Jordan. So all the men of Ephraim were gathered together, and took the waters as far as Beth-barah, even the Jordan. They took the 2 princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and they killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeeb they killed at the winepress of Zeeb, and pursued Midian, and they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon beyond the Jordan. Chapter 8. The men of Ephraim said to him, Why have you served us thus, that you didn't call us when you went to fight with Midian? They did chide with him sharply. He said to them, What have I now done in comparison with you? Isn't the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God has delivered into your hand the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and what was I able to do in comparison with you? Then their anger was abated toward him when he had said that. Gideon came to the Jordan and passed over, he and the 300 men who were with him, faint yet pursuing. He said to the men of Succoth, Please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are faint, and I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. The princes of Succoth said, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your army? Gideon said, Therefore, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars. He went up there to Penuel, and spoke to them in the like manner, and the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered. He spoke also to the men of Penuel, saying, When I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor, and their hosts were with them, about 15,000 men, all who were left of all the host of the children of the east, for there fell 120,000 men who drew the sword. Gideon went up by the way of those who lived in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and struck the host, for the host was secure. Zebah and Zalmunna fled, and he pursued after them, and he took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and confused all the host. Gideon the son of Joash returned from the battle from the ascent of Heres. He called a young man of the men of Succoth and inquired of him, and he described for him the princes of Succoth and the elders of it, 77 men. He came to the men of Succoth and said, See, Zebah and Zalmunna, concerning whom you did taunt me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your men who are weary? He took the elders of the city, and the thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. He broke down the tower of Penuel, and killed the men of the city. Then he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, What manner of men were they whom you killed at Tabor? They answered, As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. He said, They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As the Lord lives, if you had saved them alive, I would not kill you. He said to Jether, his firstborn, Rise up and kill them. But the youth didn't draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, You rise up and fall on us, for as the man is, so is his strength. Gideon arose and killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and took the crescents that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, You rule over us, both you and your son's sons also, for you have saved us out of the hand of Midian. Gideon said to them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Gideon said to them, I would make a request of you, that you would give me every man the earrings of his spoil. For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. They answered, We will willingly give them. They spread a garment, and did cast in it every man the earrings of his spoil. The weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, besides the crescents and the pendants, and the purple clothing that was on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were around their camels' necks. Gideon made an ephod of it, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah, and all Israel played the prostitute after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon into his house. So Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, and they lifted up their heads no more. The land had rest 40 years in the days of Gideon. Jerubbaal the son of Joash went and lived in his own house. Gideon had 70 sons conceived from his body, for he had many wives. His concubine, who was in Shechem, she also bore him a son, and he named him Abimelech. Gideon the son of Joash died in a good old age, and was buried in the tomb of Joash his father in Ophrah of the Abezrites. It happened, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again, and played the prostitute after the Baals, and made Baal-berith their god. The children of Israel didn't remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hand of all their enemies on every side, neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had shown to Israel. Chapter 9. Abimelech the son of Jerubbaal went to Shechem to his mother's brothers, and spoke with them, and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Please speak in the ears of all the men of Shechem. Whether is it better for you that the sons of Jerubbaal, who are 70 persons, rule over you, or that one rule over you? Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. His mother's brothers spoke of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother. They gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, with which Abimelech hired vain and light fellows who followed him. He went to his father's house at Ophrah, and killed his brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, on one stone. But Jotham, the youngest of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. All the men of Shechem assembled themselves together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king, by the oak of the pillar that was in Shechem. When they told it to Jotham, he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice, and cried, and said to them, Listen to me, you men of Shechem, that God may listen to you. The trees went forth one time to anoint a king over them, and they said to the olive tree, You reign over us. But the olive tree said to them, Should I leave my fatness, with which by me they honor God and man, and go to wave back and forth over the trees? The trees said to the fig tree, You come and reign over us. But the fig tree said to them, Should I leave my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to wave back and forth over the trees? The trees said to the vine, You come and reign over us. The vine said to them, Should I leave my new wine, which cheers God and man, and go to wave back and forth over the trees? Then said all the trees to the bramble, You come and reign over us. The bramble said to the trees, If in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and take refuge in my shade, and if not, let fire come out of the bramble, and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Now therefore, if you have dealt truly and righteously, and that you have made Abimelech king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done to him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and risked his life, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian, and you are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons, 70 persons on one stone, and have made Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If you then have dealt truly and righteously with Jerubbaal, and with his house this day, then rejoice in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech, and devour the men of Shechem, and the house of Milo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem, and from the house of Milo, and devour Abimelech. Jotham ran away and fled, and went to Beer, and lived there, for fear of Abimelech his brother. Abimelech was prince over Israel 3 years. God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the violence done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and that their blood might be laid on Abimelech their brother who killed them, and on the men of Shechem, who strengthened his hands to kill his brothers. The men of Shechem set liers in wait for him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed all who came along the way by them, and it was told Abimelech. Gaal, the son of Abed, came with his brothers, and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their trust in him. They went out into the field, and gathered their vineyards, and trod the grapes, and held a festival, and went into the house of their God, and did eat and drink, and cursed Abimelech. Gaal, the son of Abed, said, Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Isn't he the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, but why should we serve him? Would that this people were under my hand, then I would remove Abimelech. He said to Abimelech, Increase your army and come out. When Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, the son of Ebed, his anger was kindled. He sent messengers to Abimelech secretly, saying, Behold, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his brothers are come to Shechem, and behold, they constrain the city to take part against you. Now therefore, up by night, you and the people who are with you, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be, that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, you shall rise early and rush on the city, and behold, when he and the people who are with him come out against you, then you may do to them as you shall find occasion. Abimelech rose up, and all the people who were with him by night, and they laid wait against Shechem in 4 companies. Gaal, the son of Ebed, stood in the entrance of the gate of the city, and Abimelech rose up, and the people who were with him from the ambush. When Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, Behold, there come people down from the tops of the mountains. Zebul said to him, You see the shadow of the mountains as if they were men. Gaal spoke again and said, Behold, there come people down by the middle of the land, and one company comes by the way of the oak of Maonanim. Then said Zebul to him, Where is now your mouth that you said, Who is Abimelech, that we should serve him? Is this not his people that you have despised? Go out now, I pray, and fight with them. Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and fought with Abimelech. Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and there fell many wounded, even to the entrance of the gate. Abimelech lived at Aramah, and Zebul drove out Gaal and his brothers, that they should not dwell in Shechem. It happened on the next day, that the people went out into the field, and they told Abimelech. He took the people and divided them into 3 companies, and laid wait in the field. And he looked, and behold, the people came forth out of the city. He rose up against them and struck them. Abimelech and the companies that were with him rushed forward, and stood in the entrance of the gate of the city, and the 2 companies rushed on all who were in the field, and struck them. Abimelech fought against the city all that day, and he took the city, and killed the people who were therein, and he beat down the city, and sowed it with salt. When all the men of the tower of Shechem heard of it, they entered into the stronghold of the house of Elberith. It was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. Abimelech got him up to Mount Zamon, he and all the people who were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand, and cut down a bow from the trees, and took it up, and laid it on his shoulder. And he said to the people who were with him, What you have seen me do, hurry up and do as I have done. All the people likewise cut down every man his bow, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the stronghold, and set the stronghold on fire, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech went to Thebez, and encamped against Thebez, and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and there fled all the men and women, and all they of the city, and shut themselves in it, and got up to the roof of the tower. Abimelech came to the tower, and fought against it, and drew near to the door of the tower to burn it with fire. A certain woman cast an upper millstone on Abimelech's head, and broke his skull. Then he called hastily to the young man his armor-bearer, and said to him, Draw your sword, and kill me, that men not say of me, A woman killed him. His young man thrust him through, and he died. When the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man to his place. Thus God requited the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did to his father, in killing his 70 brothers. And all the wickedness of the men of Shechem did God requite on their heads, and on them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal.
The Gospel according to John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him. Without him was not anything made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness hasn't overcome it. There came a man, sent from God, whose name was John. The same came as a witness, that he might testify about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but was sent that he might testify about the light. The true light that enlightens everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world didn't recognize him. He came to his own, and those who were his own didn't receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become God's children, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Word became flesh and lived among us. We saw his glory, such glory as of the one and only Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified about him. He cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me has surpassed me, for he was before me." From his fullness we all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The one and only Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. This is John's testimony, when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and didn't deny, but he confessed, "I am not the Christ." They asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." They said therefore to him, "Who are you? Give us an answer to take back to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as Isaiah the prophet said." The ones who had been sent were from the Pharisees. They asked him, "Why then do you baptize if you are not the Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize in water, but among you stands one whom you don't know. He is the one who comes after me, who has come to be before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie." These things were done in Bethany, beyond the Jordan, where John was baptizing. The next day he saw Jesus coming to him, and said, "Behold the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I said, After me comes a man who is preferred before me, for he was before me. I didn't know him, but for this reason I came baptizing in water, that he would be revealed to Israel." John testified, saying, "I have seen the Spirit descending like a dove out of heaven, and it remained on him. I didn't recognize him, but he who sent me to baptize in water, he said to me, 'On whomever you will see the Spirit descending and remaining on him, the same is he who baptizes in the Holy Spirit.' I have seen and have testified that this is the Son of God." Again, the next day, John was standing with two of his disciples, and he looked at Jesus as he walked and said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. Jesus turned and saw them following, and said to them, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which is to say, being interpreted, "Teacher," "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and see." They came and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day. It was about the 10th hour. One of the two who heard John and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is, being interpreted, Christ. He brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas," which is by interpretation, Peter. On the next day he was determined to go out into Galilee, and he found Philip. Jesus said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, of the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses and the law and the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can any good thing come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said about him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no deceit." Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered him, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are King of Israel." Jesus answered him, "Because I told you I saw you underneath the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." He said to him, "Most assuredly I tell you, hereafter you will see heaven opened, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."
Psalm 94.
Yahweh, you God to whom vengeance belongs, you God to whom vengeance belongs, shine forth. Rise up, you judge of the earth, pay back the proud what they deserve. Yahweh, how long will the wicked triumph? They pour out arrogant words, all the evildoers boast. They break your people in pieces, Yahweh, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the alien and murder the fatherless. They say, Yah will not see, neither will Jacob's God consider. Consider, you senseless among the people, you fools, when will you be wise? He who implanted the ear, won't he hear? He who formed the eye, won't he see? He who disciplines the nations, won't he punish? He who teaches man knows. Yahweh knows the thoughts of man, that they are futile. Blessed is the man whom you discipline, Yah, and teach out of your law, that you may give him rest from the days of adversity, until the pit is dug for the wicked. For Yahweh won't reject his people, neither will he forsake his inheritance. For judgment will return to righteousness, all the upright in heart shall follow it. Who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will stand up for me against the evildoers? Unless Yahweh had been my help, my soul would have soon lived in silence. When I said, my foot is slipping, your loving kindness, Yahweh, held me up. In the multitude of my thoughts within me, your comforts delight my soul. Shall the throne of wickedness have fellowship with you, which brings about mischief by statute? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous, and condemn the innocent blood. But Yahweh has been my high tower, my God, the rock of my refuge. He has brought on them their own iniquity, and will cut them off in their own wickedness. Yahweh our God will cut them off. Psalm 95. O come, let's sing to Yahweh. Let's shout aloud to the rock of our salvation. Let's come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let's extol him with songs. For Yahweh is a great God, a great King above all gods. In his hand are the deep places of the earth. The heights of the mountains are also his. The sea is his, and he made it. His hands formed the dry land. O come, let's worship and bow down. Let's kneel before Yahweh our Maker. For he is our God. We are the people of his pasture, and the sheep in his care. Today, oh, that you would hear his voice. Don't harden your heart as at Meribah, as in the day of Massah in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, tested me, and saw my work. 40 long years I was grieved with that generation, and I said, it is a people that errs in their heart. They have not known my ways. Therefore I swore in my wrath, they won't enter into my rest. Psalm 96. Sing to Yahweh a new song. Sing to Yahweh all the earth. Sing to Yahweh, bless his name. Proclaim his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous works among all the peoples. For great is Yahweh, and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the peoples are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to Yahweh, you families of nations. Ascribe to Yahweh glory and strength. Ascribe to Yahweh the glory due to his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship Yahweh in holy array. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, Yahweh reigns. The world is also established. It can't be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. Let the heavens be glad, and let the earth rejoice. Let the sea roar in its fullness. Let the field and all that is in it exult. Then all the trees of the woods shall sing for joy before Yahweh, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness, the peoples with his truth. Psalm 97. Yahweh reigns, let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of islands be glad. Clouds and darkness are around him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. A fire goes before him, and burns up his adversaries on every side. His lightning lights up the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax at the presence of Yahweh, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness. All the peoples have seen his glory. Let all them be put to shame who have served engraved images, who boast in their idols. Worship him, all you gods. Zion heard and was glad. The daughters of Judah rejoiced because of your judgments, Yahweh. For you, Yahweh, are most high above all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods. You who love Yahweh hate evil. He preserves the soul of his saints. He delivers them out of the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Be glad in Yahweh, you righteous people. Give thanks to his holy name.
Stay away from a foolish man, for you won't find knowledge on his lips. The wisdom of the prudent is to think about his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools mock at making atonement for sins, but among the upright there is good will. The heart knows its own bitterness and joy. He will not share these with a stranger.